I see the future of Nigeria's electric vehicle market is gradually moving from conversation to commercial reality as fuel prices rise and the demand for cleaner, cheaper transportation alternatives, that's increasing. Investors are beginning to look beyond the vehicles themselves to the broader EV ecosystem, from battery technology, charging infrastructure to fleet management, logistics, software solutions, and renewable energy integration. The sector is opening up entirely, new investment opportunities across Africa. Major investors are already backing EV startups and mobility companies with countries like Kenya, South Africa, making significant progress. And we see Nigeria there. We see the EV market data. We're seeing an exemption there. The duty used to be about 5% for bringing in an electric vehicle. That's at 0% right now. Joining me to discuss this, we have Mr. Jubril Arugundade is the CEO, co-founder, Hybrid Motors Nigeria, to help us unpack where the money is flowing right there in the industry. Good morning.
Good morning.
Great to have you.
Thank you.
First off, I drove to work in a petrol car, so I'm struggling right now. How did you get here?
I got here in an hybrid.
Hybrid?
Yes.
So that's petrol and...
That's petrol and EV.
Right.
Driving to the station this morning, I've saved about 40 to 45% of the cost of operation this morning.
And I've spent all of that.
You spent a lot.
I didn't save anything.
You didn't save anything.
Driving here in a petrol car.
Yes.
My life. All right. So looking at the industry now, they say we have over 11 million cars in the country. Yes. And they expect that electric vehicles could get to about 10% of that figure. Yeah. Right now. Looking at the industry, how attractive is Nigeria's EV market for investment?
Yeah, so the Nigerian EV market is at the beginning stage. We're still at a very early stage. And this is the best time to invest because the industry is receiving a lot of interest from people, especially with the rising cost of petrol and diesel. Also, looking at the cost of money today, people are looking at alternative means to be able to move around, and EV has done this globally. China is leading the way for EV, America, Europe, and all the other countries. So Nigeria, we are positioned to do well in EV, but investment has to be today. Investment in infrastructure to make EV adoption more faster and more reliable, especially here in Nigeria. Right,
and definitely. Driving around Lagos, I see a couple of electric vehicle cars, hybrid cars, EVs, and all of that on our roads, so far. Some really, really fine designs.
Yes.
When you see them, you have to actually turn and look at them.
Yes.
But I keep wondering, what is the experience really like?
Driving an EV.
Driving a hybrid or an electric vehicle, what is it really like? What are the downsides to it?
Okay.
Because we know with our regular petrol cars, you have issues, you have a mechanic, next door that can come and help you sort it out. But for me, I'm imagining driving an electric vehicle now, and I'm like, oh, I have this issue. Who's going to fix it for me? Who am I calling? I'm not going to call the same guy I called to fix my petrol car.
Yeah, so for the USP of the EV, looking at how the EV industry is evolving globally, I can make a comparison to the mobile phone era, where we used to use like the early stage of mobile phone, where we have the Nokia phones that have very analog screens, and then we have full LED and digital screens for mobile phone. You could see that the same guys that were repairing those phones eventually find a way to start repairing the new ones. So it's the same thing with EV. Automobile is automobile, just the engine that powers it. So for the mechanical engine, over time, of course, because of dominance of petrol, we need to find people, technicians that understand how to repair those mechanical cars. Now, when EV becomes a thing, I'll give China as an example. Right now, about 10 years ago, the sales of EV in the country is around maybe 10 to 30%. But today, over 90% of sales of car in Q1 in 2026 is 90% is EV. That means 90% vehicles running on the road in Q1 in 2026 in China that are EV cars means you need more people to repair those cars. Now, repairing EVs are much more easier and faster than repairing petrol cars. Yeah, because you have electric motors, you don't have mechanical engine. So the components is more electrical, and you need more diagnostic machines, softwares to be able to navigate those vehicles.
Because sorry to cut you there, because I know with petrol cars,
yes,
normally you have maybe when you have electrical issues with the car, you'll say, there's this electrician,
exactly,
that will help you fix it. So
exactly.
Does it mean all of that business will be going to the electrical guys now?
Yeah, so the business might go to the electrical guys, but the electrical guys also have to have the knowledge of EV technicalities, because in the EV, it's not just the electrical thing in terms of your radio, your Bluetooth system, your multimedia screens and all of that. It's about what powers the vehicle itself. So there's a battery, there's an electric motor, and there are other components that powers the car. So you need to find new knowledge, and that's what my company, for example, are doing. We're deploying over training for about 10,000 Nigerian young people to learn how to repair EV cars. Because as we move towards the new evolution in mobility in Nigeria, EV is a thing. EV will stay. There's no how we can avoid EV. But we need to prepare for EV by infrastructure and also by knowledge. So what we are doing is try to encourage more people to learn how to repair EV early, so that by the time the business becomes booming and becomes the thing, there are technically know-how people that can fix these cars.
So technically, if I'm looking to buy a car right now, and I'm choosing an EV, at this point, I'm taking a big risk, because I might not be able to fix it if there's an issue.
You would relatively, because the EVs that are in the country is still very early stage. We have very few EVs in Nigeria. About 0.5% of the entire car that is purchased in Nigeria today is EV. Most of the EVs are not coming from direct OEMs or direct distributors in Nigeria. They are coming from middleman dealers, people that are buying as one piece, two piece from China to Nigeria and other parts of the world. So at that stage, you can find, some companies that are already investing. My company, as an example, we are investing in infrastructure. For example, we just signed some strategic partnership in May in China to develop an EV manufacturing plant in Nigeria, Lagos and Abuja. And in that plant, we are not just going to be assembling the vehicle and then eventually manufacturing EV cars. Our plan is also to set up after-sales facility all around the country, right? So there are already existing after-sales facilities in Nigeria. All you need is knowledge transfer. Just give them the technicalities that it needs for them to be able to repair the EV cars. So if you are buying an EV car today, I wouldn't say you are I'm taking a risk, but I would say that you are actually saving a lot, because the cost of running a vehicle is the most important thing. And I wanted to say this, as Nigeria is, we use vehicle, but we don't care about the cost of operation. We don't care about the cost of managing a vehicle. I don't think you've ever woken up in the morning and say, how much will it take me to run the car? You just get into your car, get into a gas station, put the fuel, and then you drive. But actually, you have to check the cost before buying the car in the first place, right? If I'm buying a 2026 petrol car today and I'm buying a 2026 EV car, from taking that decision to buy, I've already saved about 40% of my cost.
40% cost?
Yes. Okay. And then over time, also being able to enjoy the vehicle. You can't take away the comfort that comes from getting into an EV car, close the door, and then the entire noise of Lagos shut off.
Wow.
It's the most silent machine when it comes to mobility. So you don't hear the engine say anything, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
So in the end, all those you hear with
nothing like that. Nothing like that.
All right, we'll take a quick break now. When we come back, there's still a lot of ground to cover with this EV industry. We need to understand where the money is going and where that money should be going. That's for the moment. Do stay with us. markets this morning, and we're still unpacking Nigeria's EV market. And I have with me Mr. Jubril Arugundade, is a CEO, co-founder, Hybrid Motors Nigeria, and still with me right here in the studio. Thank you so much for staying on.
Thank you.
So we've covered a lot of ground, so far, but I'm sure, we have investors, with cash at hand right now, wondering where to put it in, when it comes to this EV market in Nigeria. Where do you think, which segment gives the fastest ROI?
I think the segment that will give the fastest ROI is the infrastructure segment of the whole EV ecosystem. We're talking about battery swapping stations. We're talking about charging infrastructure.
Battery swapping?
Yeah.
So I have a battery.
Yeah.
And I'm swapping it.
Yeah, because there are different kinds of EV cars.
Right.
There are two-wheelers, there are three-wheelers, and there are four-wheelers. For the two-wheelers and three-wheelers, your batteries are compact enough that you can swap them, you can remove and replace.
Just the way I change my remote battery?
Yes,
right.
Yes. But for a four-wheeler, the battery are embedded in the vehicle. You need a very big and technical battery swapping system, which is quite very expensive to be able to do that. But for the two-wheelers and the three-wheelers, you can swap the battery. And you can set up a battery swap station anywhere. You can invest in that. That is viable. That will bring fast return on investment. Also, we are deploying, my company, we're deploying the EV charging infrastructure in Nigeria for Lagos and Abuja. We signed another strategic partnership last month as well in China to develop about 110 charging stations. And I'm not talking about small charging stations. I'm talking about mega charging stations. So we're going to be the same way you have petrol stations everywhere. You should have EV stations everywhere. So that alone would optimize the adoption of EV in Nigeria, because people would now understand that if I have an EV car, on my way to work, after dropping me at work, my driver can just go to the charging station and charge. Within 45 to 50 minutes, can charge the vehicle and come back. We're talking about mega charging stations. So if you invest in that, that would be a good investment. Then, of course, financing. For EV adoption to really be a thing and to really survive the projection that we've given EV in Nigeria, we need to heavily finance the procurement of EV. You cannot leave EV progress to the hands of consumer buying EVs as one-off, like retail sale. There needs to be heavy deployment of finance for people to be able to buy EV cars using the finance instrument that we have. The commercial bank today will be very difficult for people to do that because of the interest rates, but that's also something we're doing. So as a company, we're not looking at EV business as a one-off from, let's say, manufacturing as an example, or from the dealership, or from the charging station infrastructure, and of course the financing to buy. We are creating the entire ecosystem as a company. And for early investors that are interested in this business, they should be looking for companies like us that are very forward-thinking about the EV business. Because a lot of people are going into the business today for quick money. And you can make quick money by selling one car. But you can make an institutional money by creating the infrastructure and the structure that the business needs. And that's exactly what we're doing.
Right. And, technically, when you go back to, the regular petrol car industry, at this point, we have, stayed a consumer, nation when it comes to, most of these cars. And I feel like there's a risk, even with the EVs, would remain a consumer nation.
Yes.
At this point. How do we change that?
Yeah, so the problem is not just even about that. The problem now is that if countries like China, that over time have over 1 billion population, is moving away from from petrol to EV, can you imagine where their petrol cars will go? Their petrol cars will come to Africa, will come to Nigeria, because we're a consuming nation. And that should not happen. We should create an ecosystem for our mobility and automobile system, or our mobility or automobile industry, to actually strive by assembling vehicles in Nigeria, made in Nigerian cars. Actually having a full CKD factory to manufacture cars in Nigeria is not difficult. And for every country that has done that, the government has played a big role in making sure that the infrastructure needed for that industry to strive comes. Now, the automobile industry in Nigeria is capable to take care of 10% of our GDP. This industry is also capable to employ at least 25% of our unemployed young people. So we have an industry that is viable. We just need to invest in the right place.
Right. All right. I guess that's a good place to anchor it. And I'm hoping at some point, as a country, we start to produce some of these cars. And the investment stays in Nigeria and is not taking out
in couple of months.
the country.
In couple of months, our assembly factories here in Lagos and Abuja will be up and running. And the vehicles, we just developed a homegrown electric vehicle brand called Aisley. And that brand would be assembled here in Nigeria by Nigerians and will also be used by Nigerians.
Fantastic. That's a good place to anchor it. Thank you so much, Mr. Jubril Arugundade, CEO, co-founder at Hybrid Motors Nigeria. Thank you for coming on the show
Thank
today.
you so much.
So much to unpack, and I'm sure we'll unpack them later on as we go on in different episodes.